digitize creativity. So the theme is digitizing the creative industries. Of course, we want you to get with it. But tonight, to do that, as usual, we have our panelists who will share from their own perspectives from different creative industries how we can do that. And on our panelists, we have CJ Carpio, we have Glenn Henry, we have Kadia Francis, Terrian Segree, Trevor Forrest, Monique McIntosh, and we'll be hearing from them as they discuss, how they think we can digitize the creative industry and why they also think that that's important. As usual, before we get started, we want to know what Kingston Creative is up to, what's been happening, what you as creatives can also be a part of. And so I'm going to ask Karen to join us to talk to me about, what Kingston Creative has been up to, and if there's anything that creatives can also be a part of. Welcome, Karen.
Hi, thank you, Tavia. Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm great. How are you?
Awesome. I'm good as well. Thank you for joining us today. What's the latest with Kingston Creative? What have you been up to?
Okay, so by now everybody would have known that we have concluded Catapult. The Catapult is behind us. And we were able to exceed the targets in terms of being able to provide benefits to artists from all across the Caribbean. Right now, the project that we're really raring to go with is called Createch, and it fits in very nicely with the theme this evening because it's looking at how it is that we can enable creatives to combine technology in order to promote themselves, to boost their business, and to really get value for what it is that they're producing and be able to contribute to the local economy and to their communities. So that's really what we're focusing on right now. Right.
How do creatives, if they want to be a part of this creative tech, how do they become a part of it?
Okay, so there are many different ways because Createch is a program of projects that will be running for the next 3 years. So we've gotten some great funding, and I see one of our IDB partners will be is on the panel today. So we've gotten some funding to do a whole host of projects. The first one actually kicked off earlier this week, which is training. So of course, Kingston Creative has been doing training for a while. The training courses continue to be free, and we've partnered with Heart. So persons will be able to get certification for the courses that they're doing. So the first course, hi, Kadia and Monique. The first course is digital marketing. And it will be facilitated by Kadia and Monique of Digital Disruption Agency. And we're also asking individuals who are interested in training to give us their feedback in terms of what they would like to learn about, what they'd like to be certified in. So they can go to bit.ly/Kingston Creative Training in order to leave us their comments, their feedback in terms of what kind of training they'd like. So this is the first of the many projects that we've started under the Createch program.
Okay, perfect. Could you just remind the friends of that link as to where they can tell you what training they'd like? Could you just tell them? Maybe someone could type it in the chat. Tell me again.
Sure. So in order for us to understand the needs, the training needs of creatives, the link is bit.ly/Kingston Creative Training.
Okay.
Now to sign up for the first course, to sign up for the first course, the link is bit.ly/KC Training Info.
That's bit.ly/KC Training Info. Got it.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, Karen, thank you so much for sharing that information with us. You guys heard it. If you'd like to be a part of these trainings, please sign up. Please also share the information that you want to see or you want to be trained on. Kingston Creative, thinking about all of these training courses and opportunities for creatives, we really, really appreciate it. And I thank you very much for giving us that update. Is there anything else that you want to leave us with that Kingston Creative is working on that we need to know about?
Okay, so we, in addition to Createch, Kingston Creative has just concluded a number of murals. Everybody is now familiar with Water Lane. We have done another set of murals, one along South Camp Road. So that's at the corner of South Camp Road and Harbor Street. And then we have another mural that just concluded. Oh, and that one, by the way, was led by Charles Baker. And we have another one that just concluded on Duke Street. And that one was led by Nicholas Rose.
All right, beautiful. Thank you so much. If you guys have not seen those murals, please go in your tiny groups and check them out. And of course, tag Kingston Creative on all their social media platforms. Thank you so much, Karen, for sharing that update with us. Thank you.
No problem. You're welcome.
All right, guys. I mean, Kingston Creative is, they've shared so many opportunities with us for creatives to learn, to grow, to build their business. We are going to be talking later on to Terry Antigre. I believe she was with us. We'll give her a few moments to join again, but we'll talk to her about this Createch project, and she can also give us some more information, from her perspective, the goals of this project, and how also creatives can be a part of these kinds of funding too. But let's go into the meat of the matter, the discussion. We're talking about digitizing the creative industries, and we want you to get with it, pun intended. So we're going to be talking about, how we're using technology to enhance our creativity. And I'm going to start off by asking our panelists just to give us, in as quick as possible, just to introduce themselves to us and tell us, what their company does and, how that, as it relates to digitizing the creative industry. So let me start off with Glenn, because you're right at the top of my screen. So you can introduce yourself to the audience, tell them what you do, and then we can get started.
All right. Thank you for that introduction. I guess I'll just go first. My name is Glenn Henry. I am the face and fingers behind Sprite Studios, which is a micro-ish independent game development studio based out of Kingston. We normally focus on narrative games, really and truthfully, and I do like using the royal we. This is me and probably one or two other collaborators normally. And by definition, what my industry is Createch, taking play and digitizing it and distributing it.
Thank you so much for that. Now, tell us, how would you say we could say it's obvious, but could you expand how you'd say, you're using technology to enhance creativity and enhance the creative industry? What would you say?
Okay, so that's a kind of tricky question because you use the word enhance. At its base, the gaming industry itself is very multidisciplinary. It is bringing together audio, visual, as well as technology, technological expertise to kind of in front of people is intuitive and engaging, and most importantly, fun. So by just continuing that process, it's really kind of pushing how we interact with technology. Gamification is an entire subject in itself that is creeping into every other aspect of our lives, really and truthfully. But just by its existence, just based on the discipline itself, it is finding innovative ways of merging technology and creativity.
All right, thank you so much. I think for some reason, sometimes your audio comes in and out.
Okay.
So I don't know. We're going to be talking again where we bring everyone in. So I'm going to be introducing the other panelists. I don't know if in the meantime you want to maybe hop on and hop off. Maybe you can to see if your audio comes through a little bit clearer.
Yeah, I'll do that. All right.
Perfect. In the meantime, let's talk to Trevor. I'd love to, for you to introduce yourself to us and, let us know, what's that one thing that you're doing or your company is doing using technology to enhance the creativity or the creative industry.
Well, hi guys, thank you for inviting me to sit on the panel. So my name is Trevor Forrest. I'm CEO of 876 Technology Solutions. Among other things, we provide web application and cloud-based solutions, and more specifically, blockchain as a service solutions. Myself, I'm a certified blockchain architect. And so in the context of this discussion, one of the things that we provide the platforms to do is for the creation and building of NFT platforms. Now, NFT platforms will, as we will discuss later, play an important part in how we digitize and create digital assets out of the creations that artists of all kinds make. So whether you're creating music, video, um, traditional art, and you're looking to digitize those and then um, sell those in the digital marketplace, the systems and platforms that will allow you to do that and actually get your due and maintain the ownership that needs to be maintained for your creative works. That's the kind of stuff that we do. We're probably one of the first companies to provide that kind of service. But we expect the marketplace to get more and more popular locally.
Okay. Thank you so much, Trevor. And I mean, there may be some of us here who are already into this technology and appreciate it, but there are also others who are here to also, learn about it and to see how they can utilize it as well. You mentioned NFT platforms. For those of us who have no idea what that is, how can you simplify it for us to appreciate what that is really talking about?
Right. So an NFT is a non-fungible token, and a non-tangible token, a non-fungible token, is pretty much a digitized version of a particular piece of work, in this case, artwork. And it is a very special kind of digitization of that artwork in that it is, in creating it, it's extremely unique. All right. Now, when you talk about fungible versus non-fungible, the best way to compare the two is if you take $1 out of your wallet, that dollar is always exchangeable with another dollar. So you can give it to somebody else and they give you back $1 and it is always exchangeable. Those dollars are always the same. They're not, for lack of a better description, unique. All right. Wherever you go in the world, $1 is going to be valued $1. Right. With non-fungible tokens, each token is unique. And that is how it derives its value, because people tend to value something that is unique. But not only that, the value to the creator can be tracked. And in doing so, the value to the creator will always be realized, which is something that doesn't always happen now. Once you create a piece of work and you put it out there, somebody buys it from you. If the value of that work goes up, they derive the value, not you.
Okay.
So NFTs allow you to have an entirely new paradigm of protecting your work and deriving the value as the creator, not only as the buyer for your works.
Thank you so much. I've got it. I'm sure the rest of us here definitely understand that and appreciate the importance of that as well too. So thank you very much, Trevor. We'll also be bringing you back to talk some more about your work and how persons have reacted to it, how we also can benefit from the kind of work that you do. But in the meantime, we're going to be asking CJ to join us. Did I get that right? Can we have him unmuted, tech support? All right, so while we wait for that, CJ, he's the CEO of Siege Arts. We'll be talking to him, about his work. So let's see if in the meantime, maybe we could get Kadia while tech support sorts out his audio. Maybe Kadia could join us and we could talk to her a little bit, about herself and about her work while we sort out that technical difficulty there. So welcome, Kadia.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Well, I'm not good because of what has unfolded today with that young lady, but I'm trying, you know?
I'm
Yeah.
happy to have you here nonetheless.
Yes.
I'm glad that you're trying. I will make, I'm sure the happy faces here too will comfort you as well. So thank you very much for joining us nonetheless.
Sure, no problem.
So tell us, about yourself and your business and what it is that you really do.
Okay, well, what I do is kind of tricky. It's tricky to explain because I am very main at everything when it comes to digital. So it's a little bit difficult to explain what I do. But right now, my concentration is really on digital literacy and skills training, as well as information dissemination is what I call it. So those are kind of the two spaces that I am operating in with both my brands, the Digital Jamaica brand and the Digital Disruption Agency brand. So Digital Jamaica is kind of like my soapbox where I advocate for tech and advocate for Jamaicans in the tech space. And Digital Disruption Agency is the training platform where we build courses around the digital literacy and training, and we work with organizations like Kingston Creative to facilitate training as well. So those are the two spaces I am in right now.
I thought you said it was hard to explain.
Well, I'm trying to narrow it down for you because again I'm a little bit all over the place when it comes to digital, but that's my lane right now.
That was perfect. That nutshell was perfect. Thank you so much, Kadia. And we'll talk some more, about, even how the creatives are responding to these trainings and these platforms that you've created for them. So we're looking forward to hearing that and talking some more about that.
Sure.
In the meantime, let's see if we can talk to CJ again, or CJ, I should say. Are you here? Let's see if we can unmute you. Okay, seems we're having a connection issue there. All right, CJ, just know that we want to talk to you. So we'll sort it out. So don't worry about it. So while we sort that out, you're gonna think about, pretty much what we want to know is the kind of work that you do and, how how technology has helped you as well. So while we sort out that technical difficulty, I mean, let's talk to Glenn some more. And I want to know from you, Glenn, pretty much what the reaction has been like to the kind of work that you do. So let's have Glenn again while tech support sorts out Glenn's connection there.
Right. Thanks again. Just in terms of reaction to the work that I do, well, it's been a mixed bag. One of the things that most people are often surprised by is just like, you make games, like, how does that work? Don't you need a fancy computer? Don't you need to be abroad for whatever reason? So they're often delightfully surprised by, this, what I put out. Truth be told, the barriers that used to exist in terms of publishing your own content in whatever media, specifically in gaming, that has kind of just disappeared. You can use platforms such as Steam, which is like the major platform for PC gaming. They allow you to upload your content for a small fee, and if you know what you're doing, you can make a little project and actually generate some form of income from that. Additionally, I'm kind of I am the self-entitled oldest member of the JGDS, which is Jamaica Game Development Society. So what we've been trying to do as a collective is just kind of showcase, this is the talent, this is the work, the body of work that, Jamaica, as well as the wider Caribbean, has been putting out in this space. In a lot of ways, it kind of feels like the last frontier in terms of Jamaica's domination of creative spaces. We've done music, we've done this show, we've done art. Let's now go into games. Let's do it. So, yeah, people are befuddled pleasantly and then interested in what we can do in this space. And that's where I am right now. I'm trying to figure out what we can do that's unique with us and how we can navigate that space to our benefit.
All right. And I mean, I suppose that's also where some collaboration comes in, for creatives who are interested in gaming, like how do they become a part of it? Like, has it been a case where there are persons who know of how to join this organization, or what has that been like?
All right. So for me, normally what ends up happening in my smaller collaborations is within my circles and my contacts, I reach out to either consult and give feedback in terms of directions on projects, collaborate on asset creation, that is either audio or visual. There are a number of other ways to collaborate. So it's not limited just to artists, but there are other ways. I'm trying to think of a pointed collaboration right now, and it is escaping me. But there are just a myriad of ways in which we end up supporting each other right now that are just small but very important. So the quickest way of reaching out to a wider group of game devs right now is head to jgds.org.
Could you tell me that one again so I could type it in the chat?
Head to jgds.org.
Go again.
jgds.org.
.org. Okay. JGS.
That showcases the wider community, showcases some of the work that we've done as part of the Global Hackathon, Global Game Jam. It also points you to our Discord, which is central for where we, chat and discuss stuff, and showcase projects, and put people onto other opportunities and things like that.
All right, great. So, later on, we're going to talk about pretty much, what are some of the challenges that you see in this space that, even gamers are facing, and, how do you think that we can pretty much overcome some of those challenges to allow persons to be more a part of these kinds of groups. So we're going to be talking a lot about that, just from everyone's perspective. In the meantime, we're going to introduce Monique, just to tell us a little bit about her role as a part of the digital disruption team. So I'm going to ask Monique to join us and just tell us a little bit about herself and about her role in digital disruption.
Hello, everyone. My name is Monique McIntosh, and yes, I'm a co-founder of the Digital Disruption Agency. As Katie would have mentioned, our strategic focus is centered around really empowering Caribbean nationals to understand how to use the digital space to help them to, well, one, they have to learn how to use the spaces and what they're for and how they can maneuver these different digital spaces, as well as to transition that understanding into allowing them to actually earn from these various spaces. So that's the stance that Digital Disruption Agency takes. And Kadia very briefly mentioned regarding Digital Jamaica, but Digital Jamaica is that source of information for so many persons to share exactly what's happening within, particularly the Jamaican space, because we need to talk about ourselves, as well as to highlight the work that different Jamaicans are doing. So say, for instance, Glenn was named one of our Digital Jamaica People to Watch for 2021. We're literally sharing, yes. So a huge part of the mandate there has been around celebrating our achievements as Jamaicans within the tech and digital space, as well as to give light and ventilation around different topics in the tech and digital spaces, whether internationally or locally, that do affect us. A lot of the time we don't really see how these, we think tech and we think big and we think not related to me. We think I don't understand it. It's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. But we really try to break things down in a way that persons can understand and actually see how something like jam COVID or something like changes in Google's policy or anything that's happening, tablets being used in schools, actually affects and impacts us as Jamaican citizens, as Caribbean people who aren't particularly tech people by nature. So we're really trying to push that conversation around digital and tech in the local, and of course, we can't live for our brother and sister in the Caribbean, so the regional space as well.
I mean, that's really cool. I personally have seen some posts that, breaks down even some tips on how to use social media. And it's so simple, like I can teach it to my 2-year-old niece. But what has the reaction been like? Like, are people, what's their reaction to the information sharing? And also, do they want to be a part of it? What has been your experience?
We have a growing community, particularly when we look at Digital Jamaica, because we have a lot of conversations. We have recently had a podcast episode with Trevor Forrest talking about a lot of things regarding data security and privacy issues, etc. That I'd really encourage persons to actually listen to. So the reception and acceptance from the community has been really good. I think in terms of the training, a lot of the times we don't really understand how much we don't know until we actually start, slash understanding how much we didn't understand about a space. So you may use Instagram every day, and you might go on Facebook every once in a while to check the birthday updates. Let's be real. Yeah. Or to keep in touch with somebody who's not on certain other spaces. But it's when you actually start understanding the anatomy, when you start peeling back the different layers, and then you realize, wow, this is so much bigger than I thought it was. And then let's forget social media for a second, because within the world of digital, social media is just one slice. It's like a cake, and social media is one slice. There are so many other slices. Glenn mentioned, I think it was Discord. There's Patreon. There's so, depending on what type of creative you are, there are myriad of spaces that are available for you to take advantage of, and that may even be better for you to earn on than maybe your social media. So it's really about having that larger conversation and helping persons understand, yes, how to use the spaces that they may be familiar with, but also maybe introducing it to something that you never really knew could work in this way or exist in.
Okay, thank you. And, it would be good too for us to talk about, specifics, certain creatives, if I'm a writer, if I'm an artist, what are those specific platforms that I would be able to have access to and that I can use now? Before we go to that, let's see if we can talk to CJ finally. Let's see if the internet will allow us to talk to you. Let's go again. Welcome.
You heard me now?
You are live and direct.
All right, about time. All right, so
the technology for actually allowing us to talk.
Don't it?
It's CJ, did I get it right?
Yeah, CJ.
All right, so CJ, tell us about yourself and your work.
All right, so I'm CJ Carpio, and I'm the founder and I guess you can say the face of Siege Arts. Siege Arts is a digital art brand, and I'm a digital illustrator / graphic designer / animator, among some other creative perks.
All right. Now, tell us about, how technology has helped you in your work.
All right, most definitely. When I started out, I actually started with a laptop, And up to this day, like most of my work is from the laptop. So I'd say that's the first way that technology actually assists. Outside of that, I would definitely say it assists in reaching my audience as well as learning, because before I actually started to actually dive into it as a business, I did a lot of research on YouTube and stuff like that. And I feel like that's a big part of the reason why I actually reached where I reached today. So I definitely say when I started out, it had to be my laptop and stuff like that. And just going forward, getting better phones. Better phones get better quality camera. Better quality camera get better images. Get better traction on social. Like everything kind of is like a snowball effect. So yeah, definitely assists majorly in my career at least.
Thank you so much. I mean, where can we find some of the work that you do, and what has been the general reaction to your work?
I mean, the reaction has been good. Like, I can't deny it. Like, I'm so proud of everything. You see me? I mean, some of my most notable works are some stuff that I've been doing at Lion Pride for the new like products and stuff like that and branding. I did a collaboration with some artists and British Council for the Windrush murals. And what I actually did with that was to basically augment them and incorporate with AR. And for those who don't know what AR is, augmented reality, which is basically using a computer device to bring a digital world in the real world through a screen, in a nutshell, right? So that's what I did. I mean, I did some other stuff. I've done work that has been featured in music videos, like the Cartel animated video with TJ. I have some other stuff coming up. So, I mean, I just have to be grateful, is it, with everything.
Oh, that's so amazing. Thank you so much. Where can we find you to tell us?
All right, so you can find me on my website first and foremost, which is www.siegearts, that's CEEJARTS.com. And you can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at SiegeArts, which is CEEJARTS.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much, CJ. And
we're
gonna talk again. And we're gonna talk just about, generally, what are some of the challenges that we see in the space and how we think we can overcome these? What are some of those specific things that creators can do to ensure that they use technology to the fullest degree to help them with the work that they have to do? Before we talk about that and before we go into that discussion deeply, I'm going to invite you to watch a pre-recorded interview with Andrew and Rebecca Kido. The tech support will take us to that video. We'll listen to that conversation talking about NFTs. I think Trevor mentioned that earlier, and we looked a little bit into what it was, but let's hear some more about what those things really are.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Kingston Creative Meetup. Today, we're talking all things creativity and tech. And we're here with Rebecca Kido, who is based in Miami. And Rebecca has lived all over. She has been in Chicago, Miami, LA, New York City, and she's been working in tech most of this time, and specifically in blockchain. So we're going to have a chat with Rebecca about this new phenomenon called NFTs, and just, how she got into it and how we can get into it as Jamaican creatives. So without further ado, hi, Rebecca, how are you?
Hi, very well. How are you?
Doing great. So Rebecca, tell us about your journey as a woman in tech and how did you get into this crypto art?
Yeah, absolutely. So I used to work for a tech conference for a few years, and part of my role there was gathering our executive advisory board across all the cities in North America. And at the time, from 2015 to 2018, blockchain was really kind of like, on the uptick. And so we had a few of the Ethereum co-founders on our executive advisory board who would tell me, we would speak ad nauseum about their tech projects and the projects across all the cities that we were in. And so when I left there, I actually kind of delved into that further and became exposed to Ethereum building smart contracts and decentralized applications on their blockchain. And
Ethereum is a cryptocurrency, right?
Yes, it is. Ethereum is a cryptocurrency, so it is in some ways a store of value. But the most, I'd say, unique thing about Ethereum is building the decentralized applications on top of the platform. And so in that, Ethereum is really built off of smart contracts, and in a smart contract, essentially what is built into the exchange of tokens is you can set certain parameters and say, like, if XY, and then things will execute for you. So that's kind of what made possible, non-fungible tokens. So
non-fungible tokens, these are the mysterious NFTs. So for the layman who are not techie, like myself, what is an NFT? How would you explain an NFT in the context of an artist?
Yes, absolutely. So the way that I like to explain NFTs is also through the concept of fungibility. So this is a non-fungible token. So an example of a fungible token is if you have a penny and I have a penny, we can exchange them all day because it's right. But if Banksy signs your penny or another notable artist, then you might not want to give me your penny because you're like, I don't know, my penny has something special now.
Right.
And that's the concept with non-fungible tokens. It's the unique metadata or information, which can be a JPEG, a GIF, a video, a song, 3D stuff, anything that is kind of like a creative file that can be associated with the token. And that's how it maintains its value. And the scarcity is built into that unique token number, and then via smart contracts, and then through the blockchain, which shows ownership transfer from you to me, which is immutable and determined by the decentralized networks and the nodes that say, hey, Andrea and Rebecca have exchanged this one coin at this time, and then that's immutable. And so we know the history of the token, we know the metadata associated with it, and that's kind of what has been fueling this NFT craze.
And as it's traded, is it true that they're almost like residuals to the artist? So say you purchase the work, but then you sell it on. Does the original artist still have a stake in the game?
Absolutely. I think that was one of the most interesting things when I first was exposed to this technology back in 2018, is that not only does the artist obviously accrue on the primary sale, but there is a percentage that is taken on the secondary sales as well. And that is determined by platform that you use. So, for example, OpenSea is a really good example of a platform that is extremely accessible. Today, you can create an account, you can start uploading your own artwork or videos or music, and you can mint it. And when you mint it, that means it's actually it's become tokenized, right? And when you mint it, there is a fee associated with that, which is one of the issues of Ethereum. And I know I'm getting a little technical, but it's something to note is that the gas fees for minting a piece of artwork can sometimes be extremely high. To date, the last time I tried to mint something, it was $90 to mint a single piece of artwork. So that is definitely one of the limitations of all of the activity that's been going on the chain right now. They are working on a solution called Ethereum 2.0, which will actually eliminate or reduce the gas fees and increase the transaction time. But that's something to note as a creator, is like, if you are going to create something on an OpenSea, for example, assessing what you think the value will be, like where you price it, is going to be very, very important. So if you want to sell a piece of artwork for $15, it might not make sense to sell it as an NFT because it'll cost you potentially $90 to even
mint it. Got it. So give me an example of like a visual artist that you've worked with or that you've seen actually using, hopefully somebody we know, that you've seen use this and use it really successfully. What's a success story for an artist, a visual artist?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there is a visual artist named Boss Logic. He's a digital first artist. I believe he's based in Belgium, and he is one of the probably most known, they call them crypto artists. But he's someone that we've worked with, and I don't want to get everyone too excited, but we did a drop with him last week, and he was selling editions for $400 each, and it was I think it was over $1 million the sale for that day. So what he's leveraged, which I would really urge everyone listening to explore is that community is huge. So right now we're in very early days of these non-fungible tokens. And what basically has happened from like a historical sense is that the price of Ethereum has raised dramatically from people who bought in at maybe $1 or $10. And now it's at 1,600, 1,700. So thinking of that huge multiple of how much their net worth has increased so substantially, that they are interested and they've got the funds to buy these non-fungible tokens, because you can
the cryptocurrency.
Using
because
crypto,
that's what you receive as an artist, right? You receive your payment in the cryptocurrency.
It depends what platform. So, for example, Nifty Gateway takes fiat because they are backed by an exchange called Gemini. Maker's Place, for example, who ran the Christie's auction with Beeple, another digital
artist. Ask about that. Yes, about the Christie. That traditional auction houses are also getting into the game.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that they've really seen, the hype and the momentum, and they've gotten on board, which many people thought they wouldn't do so quickly, but it's been interesting to see. So for example, like, in the instance of Beeple and same with Boss Logic, they've been very ingrained in the community, and they've really educated their audiences and their fan bases on what an NFT is, why it's important, and how they can purchase one. So, Maker's Place and Nifty Gateway, and I believe Rally as well, which they haven't officially launched yet, but they will also take fiat currency, which is just US dollars or like a traditional kind of currency with, whatever country. But most of the other platforms will take Ethereum and even Bitcoin. So you can always choose, which currency you want to get paid out in. Nifty Gateway, for example. Yeah.
And which platform is best suited then?
Exactly. Yeah.
There are options. Yeah.
Yes.
Is there any that you would recommend for beginners, people who are absolute novices?
Absolutely. I really recommend OpenSea. I think OpenSea has the most intuitive platform. They do only take Ethereum. So to get set up, you have to get a wallet called MetaMask. MetaMask is very easy to set up. But you will get a MetaMask wallet, and then you have to transfer some of your Ethereum, ideally, into the account. And then once you have the MetaMask account, you can open the OpenSea account. You've got your Ethereum there. It's very easy to upload creative assets and then name your store. It's almost like a storefront. And then once you are ready with your artwork and you've uploaded it, you can mint it. And then you'll see at that time, based on the traffic on Ethereum, you'll see what the gas fee will be.
And so just a question, do any of these platforms actually help with the marketing to reach an audience, or do you just, put your art? So they do.
Some of them do. So for example, an OpenSea will not. They're just an open platform. I believe, gosh, don't quote me on the percentages, but I believe they take 10% of the primary sale, or it might be 5%, and then a small percentage on the secondary markets. But typically how it works with a platform that does help more with the marketing, they'll take about 20%. So a Nifty Gateway, for example, will take 20%, and then the artists will get 80%. And then on the secondary markets, they both split 10%. So then they get 5% of whatever the total sale is.
Okay. So we've been talking a lot about visual artists, but, in Jamaica, we have dancers who, create very unique choreography. We've got musicians that, drop albums all the time. What are some applications? How can they get into this? And can you give me an example, say from the music? Kingston is a creative city of music, designated by UNESCO. So music is huge here. How could musicians benefit from this new trend?
Absolutely. Well, I know we had mentioned reggaeton earlier, and that is one of the largest, like the best kind of performing categories worldwide. So I think there's a huge opportunity for musicians. What we've seen to date, I think the most notable is Kings of Leon, which is actually a rock band in the US. They released an album and some tracks via NFT, via a platform called Yellow Heart. And what was interesting about what they released is not only did they release an album via an auction, so Yellow Heart powered this for them, and they didn't do a lot of marketing because they were kind of the first mover, but they, with their album auction, you would not only get all of the tracks, but you would get like also IRL or in real life value. And part of that was you would get, I believe it was like four front row tickets to every show that they did indefinitely. And so people
wow.
bid on the value of that. So not only did they
get
have
really creative with what you package as a benefit. Okay.
Exactly. So I think that because we're in early days and, you know, not everyone is as digitally or as virtually savvy as, you know, folks in the crypto community, when it comes to kind of transferring over, there's a lot of opportunity to leverage your fan base and offer unique experiences for the NFT holders. So these people kind of become like the true fans, and you can kind of afford them unique opportunities related to your actual NFT. And that's been what's most exciting for me from a future sense, is that, you know, if you gamify this in a sense that you do an NFT drop, maybe you drop 10 songs, right? And remember, like, if you've got a record label, you have to loop them into this, because they do need to be at the table as far as compensation. That's a huge legality, something to be very aware of. But if you do own all the rights to your music, being able to deliver it this way is very, very unique. And you can, you know, deliver 10 tracks. And for the folks who are collecting them, you can say, hey, at a later date, you could even be like 6 months down the line, hey, everyone that's holding this NFT, I've got a special unique show just for you guys, or, you know, special access to something. And that just increases the value of the NFT, because a lot of people will say, hey, you know, if I buy an NFT of a music track, does that mean can I release it on Spotify? And the answer is no, unless the artist explicitly gives you permission
to distribute their work. Yeah.
Yes, which some have. There's an artist named Jack Green who actually released his new album via NFT, and he said that they could do whatever they wanted with it. Like he was basically selling all the rights, and I think he got 20 or 30K or something. He's a smaller artist, but that was more than he was going to get otherwise. And so whoever bought that would have the rights to distribute it and profit off it how they please. But most people are not doing that, especially in conjunction with the record labels. They are not okay with that. But, you know, I think that is a good avenue for musicians to explore. And then as far as like
dancers, people who are dancers.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's funny. Yeah, it was I was talking with a friend of mine who lives in Vegas, and she is friendly with a lot of Cirque du Soleil dancers. And as you know, Cirque du Soleil has kind of come on some hard times, and there are these people who are trying to figure out what to do. They love their craft and they want to continue to monetize it. And so we were exploring options of how they could have these unique performances captured and then sold as NFTs. And I think the same is true for anyone doing unique choreography or dancing. I personally am a very big fan of shuffle dancers, and I love that choreography. And for me and fans of you know, dance and movement, having a continuous loop of a dance, right? Something very artistic and beautiful, and just a looping video can be sold as an NFT, ideally with some music, and people can display these in their homes. Like yes,
I heard there's some companies like Black Dove that specialize in how you display these NFTs that you purchase. So, absolutely. You know, we're coming to a close, and I really want to hear about the cool projects you have with Muhammad Ali and Tony Hawk, and some cool stuff coming up in Miami. Can you tell us all about it?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm working with Authentic Brands Group, which is the second largest global licensor in the world. Because remember, intellectual property is very key. Do not use any logos or labels that you don't have ownership over. That's number one. But we are actually for the 50th anniversary of the fight of the century, releasing a Muhammad Ali NFT drop. And as part of that, we were going to have an augmented reality filter component, so you can actually interact via your phone or device with the NFT, and then exploring virtual world integration via Terra Virtua, as well as potentially even some bespoke gameplay integration. So we always are forward thinking of how we can use this NFT, which may be a static image or a movie, how we can code it into other virtual experiences. So that's one, and we're super excited to have Tony Hawk on board. He's doing some amazing loop clips of some of his best tricks. We also have Messi, the famous soccer player, who's going to be releasing with us.
Football player.
Football player.
We'll get murdered if we call it soccer.
Football player. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, among, as well as doing an Art Basel event during Miami Art Week. Still getting word if we're going to be on the official Art Basel schedule, but we will be incorporating traditional artists as well as crypto or digital artists in a full kind of sensory experience between AR, VR, gaming, musicians. So that's kind of coming, stay tuned.
Any open spots for Art Basel that we could have a couple Jamaican artists maybe participate? Okay, so we'll talk more about that offline, just to have a little diversity. Miami's only 900 miles away, so we can get there.
We'd love to have your support. Absolutely.
Awesome. Rebecca, thank you so much. This has really been enlightening. And I know that our Kingston Creative family is going to love everything they heard. If they need to reach you or find out more, is there a website or where can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. You guys can always send me an email. My email is rebecca@authorityblockchain.com. So authority as it's spelled, blockchain.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rebecca. It's been awesome talking to you.
Thanks. Take care.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Thank you so much, Andrew and Rebecca. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us were listening into that conversation and thinking about, okay, Miami, how can we actually get there? Do you have any updates on that? So we're listening out to hear if that pans out to something. But thank you so much for discussing that and sharing that information with us. For those just joining us, we are talking about digitizing the creative industry. And we're talking to different persons in the creative industry and how, from their own perspectives, how we can do that. Coming from that video, talking about that NFT platform. I mean, Trevor mentioned it earlier. I'm going to invite all the panelists to just talk a little bit about, how Jamaicans, one, are they actually taking advantage of these platforms? Is there anything that we need to know to be able to be a part of them? I mean, let's talk about it. Trevor, could you share with us, are there any creatives now in Jamaica who are actually using this platform?
Well, that's a good question. Not many people are, and that's because many don't understand it. Now, that's one reason. The other reason is when people hear about these things, they jump into it for the incorrect reason. Because most times what they're doing is they're seeing that somebody sold something and got a lot of money for it, so I want to do that too. But they don't try to get to understand how things work. They don't understand which NFT marketplaces to go to. They don't know what they need to actually create an NFT. So all of the heavy lifting to get to the point where you can then sell something that makes a certain amount of money is never fully understood. And the nature of the market is such that if you don't take time to learn and understand it, you're going to lose a lot of money. Most times, a lot of money that you don't have to lose. So one of the things that I encourage creatives to do is to take the time to learn how the system works. Because if you don't do that, it's going to be very easy to fleece your money. And the nature of NFTs and then even the crypto space is such that it's not like a bank where if you have a problem with your funds, you go there, you have a discussion and and you have deposit insurance and all that. No, when you lose stuff, you lose it. There is no getting it back, because the nature of the environment is such that you're doing direct exchanging of value with somebody else. There is no middleman in this situation. So you have to be very careful with your funds, because now all of it is your responsibility. And if you lose it, you have nobody to blame. So you have to be very mindful of the exchanges that you go on, the wallets that you use, the marketplaces that you go to establish and mint your NFTs for your particular work. Because if these are not trustworthy. And there are a lot of people who create these environments and they're not 100% trustworthy. You find that out after. So you kind of want to do your homework and be very careful with what you join, what you get into. The payoff can be great. That's what people gravitate to. But all of the work in between to get there, they don't pay too much attention to that.
Okay. And the create those platforms here in Jamaica for creators to be able to use them? What are some of those platforms that start off? So I just looked at this, for example. Over there, like he has a question about it as well. How do I start? I'm new to it. I've done it before. Where do I get that information? Is that where Kadia and Monique comes in with that information? How does it work?
So again, there's a fair amount of education around it, but what you need to first realize is that to play in the digital space and to get and be able to exchange digital assets, you have to have a digital wallet. Just like how you exchange physical money, they call it fiat. You need a wallet or something to put it in. In the digital space, you need a digital wallet. And in the video, you would have heard, a particular wallet described MetaMask. MetaMask is one of the more popular ones. My Ether wallet is another one. And these are the tools that you will need to first of all be able to get digital currency of this nature, and also to be able to reap the benefits of this thing that you're going to create. So before you create an NFT, you're going to have somewhere to store the value that you're going to derive from it. So the first thing you're going to need is a wallet. After you get a wallet, you have to actually fund the wallet, because it's kind of like a startup fee kind of thing, but you have to fund the wallet. Now, most NFTs run on what's called an Ethereum network. Now, Ethereum is part currency, part blockchain network. A lot of times, the two terms are blurred, but Ethereum generally can be a currency or a network, because there is an Ethereum network. Once you get your wallet, you can add Ether to your wallet. And once you do that, then you can go to an NFT marketplace where you upload your creation and then mint it, and the minting has a cost, and the cost for the minting is taken out of your wallet.
Okay.
Right. So that's why you have to have that process that now the challenge most people, especially those in Jamaica, have is the fact that you can't just go buy Ethereum. You can get a wallet, and you can go and create an account on an NFT marketplace. But a lot of times, buying the crypto, getting the Ethereum to put into your wallet is always a problem. And that is perhaps the biggest challenge that most locals, regardless of what they're trying to do, they're just trying to invest in cryptocurrency or fund your wallet so that you can go and mint NFTs. That's the biggest problem they have, because all of the coin exchange, most of the coin exchanges right now have some requirements that a Rob Jamaican just can't provide. One of those is sometimes a social security, right? Now, unless you had one of those, you can't get an account on somewhere like Coinbase or Coin Exchange or so on. So what you have to do now, because you get very frustrated, so what you have to do now is to try to figure out how you can get Ethereum or any sort of crypto onto your wallet. And that in itself is another exercise that you do. There are various ways in which you can do it. There are various approaches that are out there. The thing is, you need to be careful which one you use, because again, you stand to lose a lot of money if you choose the wrong place.
So what we're hearing is, you know, it really boils down to us getting as much information as possible on this NFT platform, on these cryptocurrencies. I mean, Kadia and Monique, is this something that, you know, you might are asking about this kind of information? How do you, is that something that persons have been interested in? What is your take on it?
I'm not sure what you're asking because you kind of chipped out. Are you asking
Yeah.
if you said about somebody being interested?
In relation to the NFT platforms, you know,
Right.
is that information that persons are seeking or creatives are seeking?
Well, we have been seeking that information because going back to the Digital Jamaica platform, a part of, not a part, the core of what we do there is, as I said earlier, about information exchange. So we try to
Yeah.
stay on top of what is happening in the tech space, whether locally, regionally, or on an international scale. And when it comes to the international space, what is happening there that we can tap into, or that we need to know about and explore more to see the ways that we can benefit from it. So I have been down the NFT rabbit hole over the last couple
Yes,
of
we were
weeks.
talking
Just
about it earlier this week.
talking
Yeah.
about it. We've been tweeting about NFTs for about 3 weeks now, and mostly looking at how it relates to, and most of what is happening in the NFT space now is really in the creative space. However, so we're talking about art and stuff like that, and then you have, for instance, Jack Dorsey, who is the founder of Twitter, who sold the first tweet ever for 1 point something million dollars, you know, NFT, of course. So the potential of that platform, of that system, is huge. And as we saw in that conversation that Anja had with Rebecca, there are so many different ways this could go. So it's about, yes, how can creatives earn money, but how can this be a part of our digital economy on a wider scale? So the potential is huge. I am certainly excited by it, and I definitely think it's something that Jamaicans need to be looking into. And we're going to be having more conversations about it. I'm just throwing it out there that Trevor, we want to ask Trevor to come in and actually dissect, because one thing Trevor Forrest is very good at is dissecting information and breaking it down in such a way where people can really understand it. And we want to have a session like that with him where we can go into the details. So Rebecca really kind of gave you a high level conversation just now, and I'm sure a lot of people are like,
Huh?
okay. So what we're going to try to do for you is break that down to its core component, core part, so you understand, as Trevor rightfully said, exactly how this thing works and what you will be getting into, and how you need to get that space where you are ready to actually seriously look into this platform. And that's going to be on the Digital Jamaica live show coming up in a couple of weeks. So that's some of the ways that we are encouraging these kinds of conversations, by doing the research ourselves, looking at what's happening in the space, and then even if the conversation is not happening, presenting it to people and going, let's talk about it.
But I think something that's a little zhuzh or element that was kind of missing in your question, right? Or something that we kind of forget. People can't ask questions or be curious about things that they don't know, or that they don't know about, or that they're not picking up on. Because, and another element as we look at our local creatives is things like the NFTs, things that you're selling via this new frontier, new platform, new whatever. These things have to have value. Like that first tweet that was sold. Anybody I can't sell my first tweet. Nobody cares, right? So whatever it is that you're presenting has to have some intrinsic value. And a lot of So I think a part of it is even peeling back and taking some steps back in terms of understanding how you present yourself within the digital space. Wow, a lot of us have a lot of work to do with just the very basics. We're still at the basics. We don't reach NFT yet because people don't even know that I exist, much less to place that value of $500 for one stroke of a pen or stroke of a paintbrush. In order, you have to do that groundwork and that homework first before you can boom flick, hop, skip, and jump to this higher level. Where you're selling NFTs and you're understanding blockchain and all of these
That
things.
is not to say, however, that your work doesn't have value, because value in the digital space, and Rebecca said it, and I want to bring you guys back to what Rebecca said in that very small thing she said. It's about your community. It is your community that determines value. There are no longer any gatekeepers. If you look at the type of art that's being sold through NFT, there's no art critic at any fancy place going, well, this is nice art and it isn't. It's the community that decides the value of the art. And a lot of time that is based on the relationship you have with that community. So that's what Monique is talking about when she's talking about the basics of having an online community that you're constantly interacting with, engaging with. They're invested in your own growth. So that's a huge part of it. And the gentleman that you spoke to, who is the animator and CJ, right? So Siege, I'm sure he can attest to it. You have to have a community behind you that supports the work that you are doing and build you up that way and make sure that they're exposing your work as well. And that's where the value comes from. So that's what I want you guys to understand. And she said it. So I want you to pay attention to that as well. CJ, what you say?
I agree completely, because I was waiting for somebody to say that, because I feel like the most important thing that was left out of this whole thing was about branding. Because you see, the truth of the situation is, Beeple is a very well-known illustrator and designer. You get me? I say, Boss Logic is very popular. You understand? Like, when it comes to superhero and them thing there, Boss Logic. You see me? Jack Dorsey, or whatever the dude name, him own Twitter, you understand? So I mean, him tweet could have been rubbish. You understand? Is that better? For me, ultimately, I feel like the NFT thing were really frightening, or were really eye sweetening, I guess you can say. Eye-opening is the payouts. You understand? You see people make $1 million US, you know, because me find out about it now. I saw a headline with people saying that artists sell JPEG images for $3.5 million in over the weekend, and I'm like, what? I'm like, what? Like, this is crazy. But then when we do the research, you have to find out, so everything really take levels, and you have to build yourself so can reach a certain level. You understand? Because you can be the best thing. What I know, value come from perception. It doesn't matter how good it is. You understand? If everybody here is to say, oh, CJ valuable, it no matter if me think not valuable. Everybody else have to say, oh, CJ valuable. You understand? So I definitely agree. And I say, oh, while the NFT thing is, I would say, part of the future movement, and the cash out is good and all that, I say the bigger thing that the local artists definitely need to focus on is branding themselves and letting them what they're doing basically build a community for them. You understand? Because what Rebecca said in the thing was very important, say that a lot of the support will come from community. You understand? And the community don't necessarily have to be art or what you're doing, it just have to be who supports you. You understand? Like, that's the community. It not to be like a specific group or anything. And that, like where the Empress said before, really come from communicating with the persons and ensuring, say, oh, you talk to your audience and bless them upon, you know, the whole work as a teamwork thing. You see me I say? So don't fall too much in the trap of following the trends. You understand? Because like what Trevor said, yeah, sometimes you gamble big and lose big. And you might gamble your loss. You understand? So better you gamble something you're sure about than you just a gamble because you know Jack make $10 million and you can make $10 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have to understand the space that this thing is operating in. For a lot of tech, Jamaica, Caribbean, we've been operating outside of it, meaning that we aren't the innovators of these spaces, right? So that's another thing to bear in mind, that these spaces were not created with us in mind. They were created for the persons who are benefiting from these kinds of spaces. And usually when we jump in on a thing, we jump on it after the whole hype and the whole heap of multiples of millions of dollars they already make, right? So that is why the conversation around NFTs need to be a little bit more expansive and not, oh, this person made 10 million, but the potential of it as something that we can use to build out the digital economy, period, for everybody right across the board, whether you're creative, yes or no. Because if we have a very strong digital economic base, then anybody who operates within that space will ultimately benefit. So Trevor said it, it's hard to get in on any of these things because of our geographic location, and that's just the truth. Because again, not with us in mind geographically, not with us in mind genetically, not with us in mind racially,
culturally,
not on the radar. That does not hold.
All right, hold on, but we know that's true. We know have something.
Before we get to that, I mean, we're talking a lot about, you know, ensuring that we build our community, ensuring that we are creating value for ourselves. Now, we realize that the NFT, as we talked about, there are some challenges in allowing creators to access it. But what are those technologies that we would say are accessible to us that we can actually start using now? Glenn, you had something to say about that?
Yeah, so I just want to throw in a 2 cents because I can approach this NFT thing from a perspective of a skeptic, and I'm actually very grateful for Trevor for his words of caution regarding the technology, and I'm very grateful to the DDA crew here for voicing the value of community. Because again, what seems to be happening is that we're chasing trends, right? So, or what happens is that people are chasing the trends. They're trying to follow the people. They're trying to follow the other people, trying to make money, and treating NFTs by itself as something that is going to revolutionize, by just existing, revolutionize everything.
Yeah, a magic bullet, yeah.
Not a magic bullet, but it does solve a core problem on the internet. And I think we need to refocus the conversation on what NFTs solve. And what they solve is basically ownership. The value, or you can say it's a value, but one of the main experiences with digital art is that it's infinitely copyable. You can attest to the fact that oftentimes you must have had that one client where you have to break it down and explain to them why your rates are what your rates are, right? NFTs are kind of a way of retaining that and capturing that because it's a fixed signature. Like, this is a thing, it is mine, right? In terms of what we need to do to capitalize that and going forward, like you asked, Tavio, right? Very first thing is we need to get our people literate, like internet savvy, and then get them access to the tools. Because one of the things Trevor pointed out was you can't just buy Ethereum. There are hurdles there, but then there's another hurdle as well. And I'm not sure if you're talking about it in the same breath, but cashing out. You can get all this money in Ethereum. You can get Satoshi, you can get Bitcoin, you can get everything. Getting it back into your NCB account in Jamaica is still a problem.
Yeah.
Right? So
I just wanted to piggyback on what Glenn is saying, because I agree 100% with it. And so one of the things I can say in my interview is that I'm in the music business as well. I'm a quiet music producer. Started when I was in the United States, and I work with a number of artists and so on. And one of the fundamental things we need to look at as it relates to this whole craze goes back to something that Glenn just, rightly pointed out: ownership. Now, think about what happened back in the 60s, 70s, 80s when somebody had to buy a vinyl record from the store. Artists made their cut, producers made their cuts, and there was a very controlled way of selling a piece of vinyl because once it went over the counter to somebody, that person who possessed it owned that, and they exchanged the money for that. Then, came CDs, and then the music industry started to have the heebie-jeebies about CDs because something called a CD recorder came up, separate and apart from, double deck cassette, dubbing machine and so on. Because what happened now was you could now buy one and copy a lot of them. And there was no way to protect the original work from being duplicated, right? Then they came and said, well, iTunes and Spotify and Deezer and Tidal and all these things are going to revolutionize how works of art are going to redound to the benefit of the original creators, the artists. And then that didn't happen. Why? Because the artist didn't own the platform, right? Now, what we have to clearly understand over and above the hype, over and above the technology is what the technology was meant to solve. And the challenge was if you create a piece of digital art, which is hyper modifiable, hyper portable, how do you ensure that every time that thing is copied, every time that thing is sold, right? Every time it is transferred from in a digital form, that one, you get the value from it. And every time it is copied, you get the value because you don't copy it, somebody else does. So when people take, take a G-Clay, a print of an original, the artist most times doesn't see the money or a huge portion of that money out of that G-Clay print, right? Well, when somebody takes a CD for a particular artist and duplicates it and go down Aperture and sell 10,000 of them, the artist never sees that money, right? So what we're trying to do is figure out how do you ensure that the creator of the work always gets their due, right? When you move into a digital space, what we're doing, it is very difficult to control that because you can't control who copies or duplicates stuff. So these systems, and primarily blockchain, was designed to prevent what they call double spend, right? And that is once you get this piece, you can't take it and duplicate it and just derive value from it unless that is clearly seen and that value is derived by the original creator. That is the problem that NFTs is meant to solve for the creative. And the creatives must now look at how they're going to create their platform to get their stuff into a place that when people acquire it, regardless of what happens after they acquire it, they'll always get their due. That's the real problem that has to be solved. And that is what NFTs and blockchain technology is meant to do.
Exactly. But there's one query, and you can tell me how far off base I am here, Triple. Regarding that solution, as far as I'm aware, the NFTs are halfway there because it's putting basically the pointer on the blockchain. The pointer is protected. But example, Jack Dorsey's first tweet, it still exists. You can copy it. You can do whatever you want with it. The NFT is on the blockchain, meaning the pointer for it is on the blockchain. So it doesn't necessarily stop copying of the original or the minted work, right? So it's almost an abstraction of value. So it is a way of navigating and protecting things in the space.
Well, Glenn, I was reading up about that same tweet and different experts were weighing in on why it sold for so much and the value behind it. Because it does exist, but now somebody owns it. So it's not
it's
that
a perception
nobody
of
else.
value.
No, yes. No, it's not
Exactly.
that nobody else can't see it. It's that nobody else now owns it. So whosoever bought it now has some ownership value. And that is why I am particularly excited about NFTs, because of the potential. If we think about mortgages, if we think about investment in art or investment in property, NFT could be a really good way of going about it. So that is where the excitement comes in. For me, I mean, the more it develops, because that's a conversation we could definitely be having, the more it develops.
Yeah.
And it could, because again, look at the fact that there are auction houses now getting in on that whole NFT thing. So you see the potential, of that. It's exponential.
Yeah, but the thing about it is this. NFTs, as opposed to STOs, would not apply to something that is tangible. So real estate wouldn't apply. Because
well, I saw that conversation, and that's where the expert says it could go. So that's why I got excited. So I don't know.
So in the which is so as it relates to something that is unique, the property itself may be unique, and you can assign a unique identifier to the property. But in reality, how things are traded, you would look more at STOs than NFTs to do things like real estate. But you make a point that is worth interrogating, and that has to do with the fact that, and CJ can attest to this as an artist, the value of the work of art varies depending on who is consuming it or looking at it or anything like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
No, the fact that Jack Dorsey got, $2.something million for his tweet, that's because you have some idiot out there with a lot of money that just said, oh my God, it's Jack Dorsey and this is going to be valuable someday. I never have time for the dash up on that. What you don't want to
some idiot out there.
what you don't want to detain yourself with is the fact that even if nobody knows you, you can create a work of art that somebody responds to and thinks is extremely valuable to them.
Yes.
The thing about it is, when you do, and you don't know who this person is, CJ can build a thing and him say, we just do this thing and sit down in the corner, and some guy walks in one day and he's like, oh my God, that thing just impacts me. Like, I'll give you $200,000 for your thing. You say, what? You're mad? No, it's not valid $200,000 to CJ because CJ do it in 20 minutes. Valid $200,000 to the guy looking at it because it has an impact on him personally. So the value of and this is what I'm using the term digital asset, right? The value of that digital asset, which is in the form of an NFT, varies depending on who is consuming, right? Because that NFT is an asset, right? And assets vary in value based on who wishes to acquire it. Now, what you want to make sure is that when somebody acquires it, you get that full value. What happens now to an artist who makes a song when they put it on iTunes, they might get from $1, they might get 12 cents. Why? Because there are a whole bunch of people in the middle of that transaction that sucks off all of the value that is can be derived from that creation. Bearing in mind that they wouldn't get anything if that artist didn't go into the booth and sing out them throats and whatever. It's just like if she never sat down and drew or painted something, right? That is where the intrinsic value is. And what these platforms are meant to do is to ensure that once it is put out there in a form that is, like I say, hyper portable and malleable and can be copied all the time and all of that, that you, the artist, get your due based on the value that your art or your work has derived. That is what this stuff is meant to solve. And that's how you want to look at it. So when you're getting into NFTs, you want to make sure that your mindset is, I always want to get the value that my work derives, whether I get it today or 10 years time when a man say, boy, I see about 10 work where this man I do, I work sitting in the lobby of the Marriott, and because of that, that person decide that, oh, you know what, instead of $5,000 where they bought it for, I'm willing to spend $200,000, and you, the artist, are able to get that value 10 years later. Because what happens now is, you see these, I'm a Richard Hall fan, right? When Richard Hall puts his stuff into some of these stores, they sell it for a hell of a lot more than he sold it to them for. But he never gets any of that money, right? So you know what I do? I call him directly and I give him the money directly, right? And he derives the value that he views his piece to have. Now, the thing about it is, right now, if he died, the value of those pieces goes up, but his estate will never collect that money, because I could sell them and I would derive that money and I make a profit. Him or his family don't see. Thinking in the terms of NFTs and digital space and what it can do is to ensure that you always, because of its digital nature, you can track where it goes and who is doing it. And that's what the blockchain does. It allows you to keep a track of that.
Exactly. Exactly.
And being able to do that allows you to always be able to get the value regardless of where it goes and who exchanges. That's what you want to consider when you're going into this realm. Always getting the value that you deserve whenever or whoever doing what they're doing with your work.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still of the view that this thing has potential outside of the digital space, I'd say, and because you'll never know how in the future these things impact policy, impact law, impact the way we actually do things. Because one thing with the digital space, it is very elastic, meaning it can stretch to accommodate. It can always stretch to accommodate. So and I to say that for now we're talking about digital property, yeah, sure, but there's nothing that would prevent this from being from expanding out if it affects policy enough, or if enough people gets in the space. That's what happened to cryptocurrency. It's not just restricted to one thing anymore. There's so many ways you can use that and you can participate in that space. So that's what I mean by the potential of NFTs to be a little bit more inclusive and not just be restricted to one particular area. And there's nothing wrong with us having the conversation now. Because sometimes what you find is that these things are created for particular persons in particular spaces, and then somebody else gets a hold of it and it blows up and it goes wide. So there's no, I would say that it's good to have the conversation. It's good to know what's out there, what's happening in the space, and what may be available to you at some point. You know what I mean? And it's just good to be informed. And of course, you have Jamaicans who can operate on an international market, whether it's because they're already in the diaspora. I mean, Glenn can tell you a lot of the Jamaican game developers are not necessarily living in Jamaica, so they can already participate because of the economy and the market that they're in. So I definitely think it's a conversation that we should continue to have and continue to watch to see where it goes. But certainly we are nowhere near the point where this is a national conversation on a policy level like that. I mean, when you have our government body not even understand blockchain, because I hear a minister said something the other day about blockchain. I'm going, he was talking about the digital currency and he said, oh, don't worry, it's not blockchain. I'm going, right. Well, clearly somebody didn't explain something to you, but that's a different conversation. So I can hear people say, well, internet in town centers means we're a smart city.
and digital society.
So in actuality, the central bank digital currency does not and will not run on blockchain. So
I know, but it's how he said it, as if blockchain bad, digital currency good, when it's all a part of that same. So that's what I'm saying. It's like somebody needs to kind of explain a part of that same. It's okay. Fine. Let's not get into the technical details of it, but still, when you have them make statements like that, and oh, we're getting Wi-Fi in town centers, and we're now smart cities, and they give you a $20,000 token to get a tablet that don't have Wi-Fi data. You can't put data on the tablet. You're like, okay, so clearly we're not there yet, but we're getting there. And if more persons like Trevor, another expert in the space, and if Kingston Creative and platforms like Kingston Creative create the space for the conversations to happen and for people to become educated, then I think that's one way we can slowly work ourselves from behind the 20, 30-year 8-ball that we're at. So I mean, that's why Digital Jamaica exists too.
Yes, and we've talking a lot about this NFT platform and the fact that we're not really there yet. So how do we bridge that gap then? How is it that we allow artists? I mean, CJ, you can give me your point as well in terms of how do we ensure that artists have access to the technology that will help them in their work? How do we bridge that gap? So right now we are not able to get onto some of these platforms, but what do we do now to allow us to be able to, one, create that value, ensure that we secure the value for our work? What is that next step for us? What are the thoughts around that?
I quite frankly, I just believe the self-branding. You understand? Like that's my biggest advice in this whole thing, because I'm not very versed on NFT thing. I had a general idea, but not as much as the info Trevor gave us earlier. Is it? So I'm really grateful for that information and thing. And to be honest, like I said, let me take NFT out of it. For example, PayPal. Does anybody know how to get PayPal money here in Jamaica?
You wait 3 months and you request a check.
You understand? Like that's PayPal. You understand? And this is years ago. And this is NFT. So me, that's when I said to not put too much, like I would say put more energy in marketing. It wasn't so much that you're not supposed to get information, but I believe that if you put yourself in the space to be seen, the right people meet you, right? And when the right people meet you, they'll give you access to things that you might never know you could even get access to out there. You understand? Because at the end of the day, links on everything, and things out there where people never imagined could have been out there because of links. You understand? So I would say, yo, like, especially this whole COVID madness and thing, I would say now is the time where we see who really creative. And it's not even about art or colors or none of that. It's just about creative thinking to survive. Is what I'm sure, because right now
I just felt that shade, but I completely agree with you.
No.
The shade, but I agree with you, sir.
No, I'm not shade, man. I'm not sure I vibe. The truth of the situation is now is the time. Even me, who do the digital arting, right, and graphics and all that, me still have to think how I can still stand out from my peers. You understand? Say I don't want them do good as me, I want better, but I still have to think about how I can just still have that edge. You understand me? And I feel like, especially right now, we have the time and we have the capabilities. You understand? Because being digital, everything is either imagery or visual, and everybody have a phone. Most people they're on Instagram, so people can look for them and themselves do have access to the technology, because the phones now are being created with such great cameras. It might not be one of them type of camera, but it's just as good as some than 10 years ago. You understand me? Sure. Yeah. So the capabilities are there, but is if you want to add value to what you're doing. Because to me, there's a difference between a business and a brand. You understand? Like a business is something like if it failed today, it just collapse. And a brand is if it failed today, I can just maybe rebrand it and come up with a new product. You understand? Like it have sustainability and a lot of that come with value. You get me? So other than say brand, think creative, read up, know about the future capabilities, but also be realistic that you're not in America. You understand? It's not so easy for stuff happen for us here. Even something as simple as customs. Oh God, man. People bringing things knows how this. You understand? You want to go to your office and buy a nice computer, they might tell you $1 million. You say, yo, like what? You understand? So there's a lot of hold me box. But like I say, yo, the strong will survive. And in this day and age, the strong is creative. You understand? Like if you not try and move like water, you're gonna be stagnant. You understand? So just focus on where you are and where you see your brand going and how it might align into anything we are discuss as it pertains to NFT or physical stuff, anything. You understand? Because what might work for John might not work for Jack. And that is
It's
also
true.
real.
It's true, Siege. And I know you said you weren't throwing any shades, but if you never throw it, never throw it now. If you never throw it, never throw it now. Because what you said, and I applaud everything that you just said, because real talk is real talk. But if you guys have noticed, a lot of people have emerged during COVID. A lot of new artists have emerged in COVID, and I mean right across the creative space. Whether it's a comedian, whether it's an actor, whether it's a musician, whether it's a digital artist. I mean, a lot of persons have emerged, and they have emerged because there's no space for them. Because more persons are
Hold on. I feel like I sorry for cutting, but I feel like the space was always there.
No,
like,
no, it wasn't. It wasn't because we were being fed.
No. I agree with Siege. The space was there.
No,
wasn't.
Let me finish. Let me finish. I'm not saying it wasn't. What I'm talking about is visibility. Visibility wasn't there.
Pay attention.
Of course, the digital space was there, but was there this level of attention being paid to it? No. That's what created the space for visibility. That's what I am talking about. And persons now having an opportunity to spotlight because they took advantage of that space for visibility opening up. So there is no big concert where the regulars is going to be on that show, right? There's no big event I keep and the regulars going to be on that show. Right now, what we saw happening was people generated content or user generated kind of content. People putting on them own things and throwing it out there to people. That's how Versa started, throwing it out there to people and say, hey, let's hang out, let's do this. And people, there's several people I can think of now will get a serious buzz off of that. That's what I mean. And again, it comes to community marketing. Your community being there to support and propel and share and push you because they would have already seen the value in what you are doing. I know that this is a window open up for you, talk to it. No, you're in the space. No, you're visible, and no, you have some level of relevance in the space. And Monica and I have been saying it from like last year. For 2021 and beyond, what COVID is forcing us to do is be visible and relevant in the digital space. Everybody did it.
Watch this now. While I agree with what you're saying, our next side to it is now that everybody is trying to be visible, we are over visible. So what you find is even things with substance are not being seen because what is being shared is tough without substance, to be honest. So that is why when earlier
again, that's a matter of taste though, isn't it, CJ? Just like how it's a matter of who places value on what.
No, but taste in regards to what though? Because, for example, earlier
if you're saying that stuff that are being shared now has the problem is you're putting significance or you're placing value in one thing over another. And I'm saying I tend not to get into that kind of conversation because For who is my response? Value to who? This is good or not good according to who? The people who are consuming it.
Yeah.
And so you and I and CJ can lament about, oh my God, a bare foolishness in this space. But the reason why it has staying power in this space because clearly there is an audience for it.
For it.
Clearly.
And
the thing with digital is them decide value these days.
Yeah. And the last one on that is that sometimes it's not about how many people see your things, but that the right persons see it.
That's another thing altogether.
You can have a page and 100 people like it, and you can be a cajillionaire because those 100 people are your audience, and one person buy a thing for $1 million. Versus you can have 1 million followers and none of them, they are kiki and laugh and you know about your things, but nobody's putting them up money with them out there. So
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so I'm careful not to assign value because everybody, even the most paltry, most things will make you want to go, oh God, really? You will find an audience for it. You will. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing because no one person gets to be the tastemaker. And the internet is kingmaker, as we can all attest to. The internet decide based on who your audience is. And I use the example all the time. Look no further than our platform, Digital Jamaica.
Yeah.
What was that?
Now, may I say how much time the internet decides something, I have to question the decision of the internet.
But we can always question. There's always room for question, but there's always an audience, right?
I'm not
saying that. But with that, you have to take the good of that. You have to take the bad of that with the good of that, because then it creates space for people like me and you to exist. Because at one point, a platform like Digital Jamaica wouldn't exist unless somebody did tell somebody, say we were worth listening to. Now, what we did was we decided that we were going to create a space for our own voices. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Think about Jamaican voices in a digital space. Before, people were looking at Jamaica from the perspective of non-Jamaicans. That's how persons usually see us. People write stories about us and tell stories about us. Now we can tell these stories for ourselves. We have Jamaican digital magazines. We have Jamaican creatives who are now visible online. We are now very much more accessible and can direct narratives. We can share our own narratives. And I think that's a powerful thing now. Whether you like the narrative or don't like the narrative is a matter of audience and a matter of what your audience wants to consume. And the bad comes with that and the good will come with that.
I just want to add something.
What dilute the good? And most times, what dilute the good? Just remember that.
I wouldn't say most times. I don't know if I agree with you there.
Just to add to
it's up for the bad.
Just to add to that side of the conversation, again, you know, when we talk about the market and who is consuming, one of the things I find with our local artists, and I mean, this is across the board.
Can't really hear you, Trevor. You're kind of low, yeah.
I say, you know, one of the things I just want to, you know, follow up on this line of conversation about is, you know, the perspective that a lot of our artists, and I'm going to, again, restrict it to the music industry, which is what I'm very familiar with, but I find that it happens in the art industry as well. Yeah, but so there are fields of them things shot if them play on local radio, right? And we do not appreciate and understand that there are about 6 billion people out there who never heard it.
Yeah.
Right? And when you think about what the internet has done, forget Jamaica. You have people out there creating stuff because they want it blow up in Jamaica. Forget Jamaica.
Forget.
Jamaica is 2.7 million people. Forget
it's so much, we're not sure.
Right? Forget Jamaica. Remove your thinking from doing stuff for Jamaica. You know, say more Japanese people appreciate reggae music than Jamaican.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, there are more Japanese
More of them
people.
than these.
Which is the point.
Now,
Exactly.
the thing about it is, what blows artists' mind is they go to Japan and they perform at concerts the likes of which they've never seen because then they are focused on Jamaica. Forget Jamaica. You're no longer in a world where your reach is restricted to this little rock.
Exactly.
Right?
And I think that's
when
a
your
good
creation
thing.
can reach 6 billion people, what you need to concern yourself with is the fact that when the one somebody that see your work and say to them, because what if people is right about, when that one person sees your work and as far as they're concerned, that work is worth $1 million to them, maybe $10 to you, but $1 million to them, when they pay or are willing to pay for that, there must be something that allows you to get that money. When they pay for it and because of who they are, somebody else says, well, if this dude bought this guy, I don't even know who this guy is, but if this person bought this guy's art for $1 million, well, I'm going to go find him and I'm going to buy some piece of art that even need to make sense to me, but just because this other person spent $1 million on it, I'm going to go and spend $3 million on something I don't even like, but I have $3 million burning a hole in my pocket. What is important is that that experience that was triggered by one person who liked your piece of art because you now exposed it to a huge audience.
And that's where the visibility and relevance come in. If Andy Warhol can sell Campbell's soup can paint for how much millions of dollars.
Once that occurs, what you must be focused on, which a lot of artists, and now this is artists across the board, what you must be focused on is how you ensure that the business of getting your due is in place. The biggest problem, you notice in the interview, in that video, reggaeton. And this really upsets me because reggaeton wouldn't exist without a beat sequence from Sly and Robbie. But reggaeton is making more money and waves than the very genre that created it. Why is that?
So is hip hop.
Why is it? Well, let's not even go there, right? But why? Why is that? Because
we could say this for hip hop and garage music.
The people who are playing in that space secure the business of that space. What you need, NFTs is giving an opportunity to start over, get the business in place so that you as the artist will get your due. That is what you want to focus on when you're looking at what NFT or the value that NFTs will bring. It's a reset, right? So all the stuff that you weren't privy to or that the opportunities that you missed and all of that, NFTs is an opportunity to reset, get your stuff straight so that from here on out, you will get your due. That's what artists need to start thinking about.
But Trevor, one question.
True.
I agree with that. I agree with the intent. But I just want to zero in on something. There's another environmental question, but I don't want to necessarily bring that up in the frame right here. So there have been a bunch of stories regarding NFT, people minting work that does not belong to them. What is the strategy that you could tell artists or just tell creators in general in terms of protecting and maintaining that true value of NFT?
Right. So how do they get the art to mint?
They go to your Twitter page. There was a Twitter bot that was running that you could just at it and it would just mint.
Great. So now here is what happens. You now have to be astutely aware of what you put out there carelessly.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That is not what we do. Right? So now the mindset of artists playing in this space has to fundamentally change, right?
Yeah, but that's going to shift.
Because and I'll give you a perfect parallel to this, right? For something that exists now and was only litigated a couple of years ago. You can't just willy-nilly put your work out there, right? If you do that, then people will take it, knowing and understanding the value of these things, and take your work. So think about this. For the longest time, I think it was Burning Spear. For the longest time, Burning Spear never owned their masters.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, how did they let that happen?
Sign it away in some contract.
They never understood what they were signing. Yeah. Understand
that reach all the time
about the space. So now, because we're just willy-nilly in digital spaces, you need to understand the ramifications of taking a work and say, yo, you know, some just want to show some people that thing, and he just puts it on an Instagram page, and away it goes, and somebody says, oh my God, this is beautiful. I'm just going to take that. I'm going to mint it, which means now I own it. And then I can go make some money off of it, and you don't see the value.
So,
right?
So Trevor,
you need to be careful now and more aware of the fact that the space that you're playing in requires you to function a particular way. That is what you have to pay closer attention to right now. Because the people who are out there thieving things and reminting and all of that, they can't do it unless they have the piece, you know.
No, but hang on. If I make an NFT of a piece of artwork, right, and I post that piece of artwork, it's a limited NFT, it's running 10, it's only 10, minted 10 copies or whatever, right, and I put that artwork on my social media, and my social media is how I grow my audience, develop my audience, and build out that audience, right, and interact with them. They still can then take that image and still mint it.
Okay, so that's a different question. So if you yourself did the right thing and minted your creative work, all right? And then somebody takes that and starts to mint that and sell it. Now, what happens is this, and this is why blockchain is extremely important in this particular situation. Anytime you create something or mint something on a blockchain, there is an immutable code.
Yeah, that's a token. That's a 10.
Right?
That's the 10 I made.
Hold on, that is tied to that transaction, right?
Yeah.
Right. So now, remember when a man tell you back in the day about poor man copyright, put your work in an envelope, go to the post office, register mail and send it back to yourself, and never open the envelope. You know why they tell you to do that? Because there's a date and time stamp associated with that transaction. All right. Blockchain does the same thing in an immutable way. Nobody can change it, right? So if you mint your work, right, there is a record that says when you did it, who did it, right? Now, if I take your work and start mint that, what needs to happen and what you will find will happen soon enough is that there are going to be laws locally and globally that will allow you to then challenge what they are doing. And the only evidence you will have to challenge them is that transaction date and time that is stored on the blockchain that nobody can change.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how you deal with that.
So there's still room for to catch up and protect.
So they can do what they want to do, but the laws need to. So you know what you need to do now? As an artist with an interest in that space, you need to make sure that you lobby for laws to prevent that sort of stuff from happening. And if it does happen, you have recourse.
Creative, need to get on that.
And then sometimes, you know, I know we're talking about lobbying for laws. So I'm going to switch up on y'all now and put on my law degree hat and say that sometimes the law doesn't necessarily even have to already be on the book. There's such a thing called common law where there is really no law on the book, but the court still decides on the matter And this is where precedent can come in, and this is where they will invite in the experts like Trevor to come and go, okay, so explain this thing and what this thing mean. And if Trevor explains like how he explains, that would be really good grounds for them to make a decision, and whatever decision they create then becomes law, as far as the common law is concerned, and that is adopted into formal law. And I'm talking about the Jamaican system now, because we're still very much a common law system here. So it works that way here, but I still think at least lobbying for some kind of policy framework. That is where my frustration comes in. There's no policy framework on any of these things that you're going, look how long it take them to pass the Data Privacy Act. I'm just saying, right? So that is another space. We can't be talking about these things. These conversations can't be happening in isolation. We're only talking about, okay, these new technologies are in place and we can benefit. Benefit is one thing, but if you have no legal recourse, then your benefit might be fleeting if there is no way to protect it, right? So I completely agree with Trevor, where a part of this conversation has to be some kind of lobby effort on the part of government to at least catch up and at least put some framework or some policy in place that would act as some barrier, some kind of protection until them actually get to the act or the formalization required.
I want to tell somebody with the government still. And that's just the truth.
I agree. I'll wait on government.
Yeah.
To be sorry, Tavia, but to be honest, I want to describe what I go. Literally sound like a copyright case. You understand? It's like there's no NFT, and I want thief your copyright, gonna make a zillion dollar, and now you have to bring, who you have to bring got the court case. So like, I realize even though there will be new ways to alleviate problems, it's technology, bro. Like before I come for the thing, the might nobody work. You see, like technology always have a way for show up when you need it most. You see what I'm saying? So I mean, this topic is a very good topic still, despite everything we're going on in a digital world right now. You understand? And Keda did mention some about currency. And what I was thinking was this is really just an introduction to what is to come. Because like I read say, Jamaica said they want to go cashless by 2022, that's next year. Is that man sure?
No, they didn't say that.
No.
They did not say that. They are introducing a central bank digital currency by 2022, but that will not make the country cashless by 2022. That will not happen. And nobody said that.
Well, I'm no finance expert, so that's good to hear.
No, even a finance expert.
Here.
Nobody said that.
Hearing all of this with us, and I mean, I know Trevor, you have to also jump off. But before you leave, what is that final thing that you'd want to share with creators when it comes to just utilizing the technology that's available to them and making sure that they benefit from it?
Educate yourself and take your time, learn the thing. That's my advice.
Thank you so much, Monique. What would be your advice to creatives as well?
That's the same. I'm copying and pasting from Trevor. And the one thing I would add is we have to start from the basics. So it starts with a fundamental understanding of digital. And if it me, I think earlier in the conversation, a lot of the talk might have been going over a person's head. If you felt it was going over your head, it may be a signal for you to explore or learn more within the different areas.
And just ask the question. So I'm going to use this opportunity to have each of you just tell our friends how they can get in touch with you, how they can get more information about what we've been talking about. Trevor, I know you have to leave, so you can go ahead and give us that information, and then we'll go around the room.
All right, I'm going to put it in the chat so everybody can see it. You can get in touch with me via email, trevorforrest@876solutions.com. I'm on Twitter, Trevor Forrest. I'm on LinkedIn, Trevor Forrest 876. I'm on Instagram too. So, and I'm always on to talk about this kind of stuff. I'll talk about it all day long. So, that's how you can get in touch with me. I'll put my contact info in the chat as well before I go.
Thank you, Trevor. Glenn, do you also want to share with us how we can get in touch with you? And, even if you have any final words to creatives on how they utilize technology, especially in your space.
Final words for me regarding creatives and technology. Just learn more. Just keep your ear to the ground. Pay attention to trends. Don't necessarily follow them, but at least be aware of them. They will impact you in ways that you don't expect. Regarding social media and just to find out more about what I'm doing, I'm on Twitter, Sprite Wrench, at Sprite Wrench. That's Sprite as in the soda, wrench as if the tool. I'm posting that in the chat, so you can check that out. Website is also spritewrench.com. And earlier, I had mentioned the Jamaica Game Developer Society site, which is jgds.org. So, yeah, reach out to me, ask me any question.
Thank you so much, Glenn. CJ, tell us, if you have any final words for creatives like you, remind us.
Blessings, everybody. The creatives on a whole, I'd say is a similar message to Trevor, and it's just to continue to educate yourself. Because every single day the ball game will shift. You understand, especially with technology and things. So just educate yourself in the field and see where basically can direct your emotions, is it, in order for achieve what you really want to work towards. In regards to keeping in touch, like I said previously, you can visit my website, which is Siege Arts, that's CEEJARTS.com. And you can check me out on social media, Instagram and Twitter, at Siege Arts, which is CEEJARTS. Yeah, thanks.
All right, thank you so much, CJ. Kadia, you want to close us out with, final words to creatives and remind them where they can find you also.
Final word to creatives is find out where the free information is and jump on it. Where the freeness there, where the freeness and dash out, you need to run in, right? So Kingston Creative now has had 3 major programs: the boot camp, catapult, and now this training. Jump in it, dive off, absorb all the information that you can absorb. And of course, jump into Digital Jamaica, because what we try to do is curate the information for you and put it in one space where you can readily access it. And if you should go on our YouTube page, Digital Jamaica, you can find us on Twitter at Digital Jamaican, on Instagram at Digital Jamaica, you find that we are actually having the conversations with the people in the space that can provide useful information, and we try to keep that conversation local to Jamaica, or local as in regionally, because I think the expertise is here, and we need to tap the expertise, because one, they're in the space, they understand the same with this, they understand and share your experience, and they can give you useful information as to how you can get from point A and point B. So go and listen to that podcast episode with Trevor. I mean, we've created several spaces where information is being exchanged. So the podcast is on Spotify, it's on Apple, it's everywhere, the Digital Jamaica podcast, the blog, thedigitaljamaica.com, YouTube is there. And in the coming weeks, we are actually relaunching Tech Time, which was our radio show, and it's now going to be Digital Jamaica Live, and it's going to be a live stream that we do every Tuesday at 10 a.m. on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And we'll be having experts like Trevor, wink, wink, Trevor, wink, wink, on the show who can and share proper information. So it's going to be news. We're going to be reviewing stuff. We're going to be sharing resources. We're going to just be having amazing conversations, so you can stay up to date as to what is happening in the tech space, locally, regionally, internationally, and how that can impact you, and where you probably need to go fishing some more and start exploring and see how you can get some coins. Okay, so that's what I would say.
Wow, thank you guys so much for helping us to even touch the iceberg a little bit when it comes to technology in the Jamaican creative space. And what we're hearing is, no, if you don't know, you don't know. So you need to find out, you need to ask the questions, do the research, connect to the people who know and who have the information that they can share with you. So thank you guys.
And one more thing, take up space, insert your voice. As I said, jump in, you have something to start a podcast, start your blog, CJ said it, brand, brand, brand. Go in there and take up space. You have something to say. It's important. Build your community and just get yourself out there. Visibility and relevance. All right.
Thank you so much for that. So I want to hear it. You guys heard it here. Make sure you create that value for yourself so that other people can also see the value that you create. So thank you guys so much for sharing this with us. Those of you who are joining us on YouTube, thank you for joining us as well. And before we jump off this call, I want to remind you that this Sunday, we also have the art walk, and that's digital. So you can join us on YouTube again. And this Sunday, we're talking about the city being lit. We're talking about creating Jamaican literature. So if you're into that, please join us. You know, share on Kingston Creative's different platforms as well. And thank you so much for joining us tonight as we talk about how we can digitize the creative industry. So thank you guys for joining us. And please, if you'd like to, you can talk in the chat, you can exchange your information. You guys were so awesome in sharing all this information.